Now, for those of you that have been screaming you want your Chelsea back, there it is. Chelsea with a classic smash and grab and emerge 1-0 winners at Bournemouth. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings, welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance at the Vitality Stadium versus Bournemouth. But before I get into all that, you guys already know it's a new season. We're 4 games in. I need you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. But without further ado, let's get into the review. What can I say? Classic Chelsea. Classic Chelsea. You know, we did not in any way, shape, or form deserve to win that game. And, you know, we come away with 3 points courtesy of individual brilliance of Jaden Sancho, who we will speak on, and of course, Christopher Nkunku. But, you know, for the large chunks of that game, I'm talking about 75-80% of that game, Chelsea were just poor. And yes, there are many reasons as to why we were so poor, starting with the midfield. We had a very unfamiliar duo in there in Viega, who's essentially a left-back, center-back playing in the midfield, next to Caicedo, who I thought had a very, very good second half, and of course Cucurella playing the Enzo role in the attacking final third. And, you know, a very, very unfamiliar midfield three in there. We had absolutely no control of the midfield. We had basically 6 defenders on the pitch as well, and, you know, anyone that watches my videos will know that I'm going to say that player is always going to resort to their type when they're in unfamiliar positions. So if you put an attacker in a defensive role, the attacker ability is going to come out more so when their instincts are involved. When you play a defender in an offensive role like Cucurella, his defensive acumen is going to be what you're going to be seeing more often than not. The players rely on their instincts when they're on the pitch, making those split-second decisions. And, you know, we had about 6 defenders on the pitch today. Like, let's be real. We had Disasi, we had Fofana, we had Colwell, we had Cucurella, Viega, and, you know, obviously Caicedo's not a defender, but he's not really a guy that's going to be tactically astute enough to get into the final third and stitch through, you know, attacking moves. So, you know, be the metronome for our midfield and whatnot. So essentially we had about 6 players in defensive positions, and we just did not have enough players linking the midfield to the attack. We didn't have anyone linking that. And it put a lot of responsibility on the wide men. It put a lot of responsibility on the likes of Madueke. Obviously, Cole Palmer, looking to drop deep and get on the ball, was often bullied off of it. And, you know, obviously Neto on the other side didn't really provide us with much. So yeah, we struggled mightily in the first half to build attacks, to get a foothold of the game. And, you know, for large chunks of that, we just looked like we were second best. We couldn't get out of first gear. And, you know, not just that, but the effort and commitment that it takes to win these duels, win aerial duels, win second balls. You know, we just weren't winning any of our ground duels as well. So you couple the fact that you have a bunch of defenders on the pitch and you're not winning duels, and you can see why Chelsea struggled to get any sort of foothold in that first half. Now, I'm not going to focus too heavily on the things that we did poorly. Obviously, there's a couple things that just stuck out like sore thumbs. Obviously, Disasi as a right back does not work in this setup at all. You know, in a game where you have absolutely no control, no stability, you're not able to dictate the tempo, you cannot have an absolute, you know, liability on that right flank where you have Tavernier, who's very, very good, very, very tricky, and obviously has, you know, enough skill to dribble past you at will. So that was an obviously glaring error, and you know, one that we don't want to see repeated anytime soon. But not only that, obviously the midfield duo of, you know, Viega and Caicedo, while they were, you know, they made a few nice challenges and, you know, they grew into the match. I thought the second half they're a little bit better. You know, we just had absolutely no attacking thrust. We had absolutely no control of that midfield. And, you know, in a game like this, like you bought Kieran Dewsbury Hall for a reason. You know, he understands Maresca's tactics, he understands what he wants to do, and you still don't see it fit for him to play in this game. Like, I just don't understand how that happens. You know, we had enough defensive stability on the pitch when you consider we had like 5 or 6 defenders, you know, throughout the match. I just didn't understand how you start the game with another defender in there rather than just drop Dewsbury Hall back into the midfield, or, you know, at least play him where you're playing Cucurella as the attacking 8 in the midfield 3. And for whatever reason, you know, Maresca decided to play Cucurella as that number 8, which gave him a lot of ground to cover too. And I don't think that he did a very good job of it. I thought Colwell did a good job of covering for him, to be honest with you, when we got caught up the pitch and whatnot. But ultimately, there was a lot of ground for Cucurella to cover that entire match. You know, his defensive, you know, left back position and responsibilities were still being called upon, you know, and then also he'd have to advance when we're in the final third and get to, inside the box, or at least be the one that's in the half spaces trying to link the play in there. And he just wasn't very effective there. So, you know, a lot of things that we just were unfamiliar with in terms of our attacking sequences, a lot of things that we were very, very unfamiliar with in our defensive sequences when you think about, you know, the likes of Disasi playing at right back and whatnot. So, you know, ultimately it was a mess. We didn't really come to grips with how we wanted to approach the game, how we wanted to attack them, until we changed in the second half. And those changes were very easy to see. Chelsea brought off Neto at half and brought on Jaden Sancho for his debut in a Chelsea shirt, and what a debut it was. Easily the man of the match for me. Obviously, honorable mention to Robert Sanchez, who saved our asses in that first half and again in the second half. But, you know, for me, the game changed when Jaden Sancho came onto the pitch. He was just electric as soon as he walked onto the pitch. It was exactly what the game was calling for, just a little bit of dynamism out in the wide areas. Obviously, Chelsea were still not getting anything in the middle areas of the pitch. We were still unable to dictate play from the middle areas, so we needed to have some real quality in the wide areas. And, you know, from what we weren't getting from Neto was the exact opposite from Jaden Sancho. What Jaden Sancho gives you, besides just the combination play, you know, obviously the technique and the vision to see passes that many don't, is he provides you with that investigator, that guy that loves to investigate space, you know, a la Eden Hazard of years past and whatnot. A guy that understands how to control the game in wide areas. And while, yes, his dribbling ability, his technique, and just his ability to investigate space was mostly on display yesterday and, you know, throughout the game, the thing that impressed me the most was those little like 4 to 5 yard passes into space, into the 18-yard box, that were just delicately touched into the receiver, whether it be Cucurella or, you know, Nkunku for the goal. Like, the angles that he had to find to make those passes, accurate passes into the 18-yard box, were just exquisite. And there's not very many people on our team that can come in from wide areas and play those 4 to 5 yard passes, diagonal passes, so delicately and find the foot of a receiver so effortlessly. We were just not able to find the spaces, the angles and whatnot to investigate those areas on the pitch until he came on. And, you know, that's why he was my man of the match, because I think that he had the most impact in what the result of the game was. You know, when he came onto the pitch, I felt like Chelsea were just completely different. Now, I just want to close with this, and this is not really a problem per se. It's just something that I'm observing and I'm trying to understand what is happening here. Clearly, Christopher Nkunku is our best finisher. There's no doubt in my mind that when you need a goal, Christopher Nkunku should be on the pitch. There's no delays. You're not waiting till like the 94th minute to put him on in garbage time minutes. You need to put him onto the pitch to make the difference. Not only his goal scoring ability, his technique and whatnot to find players in the space is all the things that you want. And I just can't for the life of me figure out why, when Chelsea need a goal, you know, we're looking to other players before we're going to the likes of Christopher Nkunku. Like, again, yesterday was another example where Chelsea were struggling in the final third to find the angles to really pierce that defense. And the likes of Christopher Nkunku's very good in tight spaces, you know, nimble feet, and of course a deft finishing touch, is sitting on the bench for 80, 85, 87 minutes. You know, obviously in this game he came on about the 78, 79th minute, and, you know, instantly makes a difference. And I'm struggling to figure out if Maresca is just managing his minutes because he had, you know, a serious injury, or if he's just misassessing what he has in this team right now. Like, it was clear to me yesterday that Madueke was poor, Cole Palmer was poor, Jackson was poor. In particular, Jackson and Cole Palmer. And those are the two positions where I think that Nkunku can operate and be very, very effective. You know, I like Felix. I think that he can unlock defenses. He's going to be a decent player. But when you need a goal, you cannot tell me that the best option you have when you're looking to score, you're looking for somebody to like create something for you, is João Felix in that team. It just does not make sense. You know, clearly, the best option here for Chelsea going forward is Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku was the one guy people were screaming for Chelsea to have on the pitch all last year, and was largely part of the reason why we didn't finish top 4, because we just lacked his quality, his finish, his deft touches in the box. And obviously Maresca understands that, but why is he waiting till the umpteenth, the penultimate minute before he's putting him onto the pitch? It worked against Bournemouth, obviously a beautiful pass from Jaden Sancho finds him into space. He uses his dribbling, his technique to find the back of the net. But, he brings him on against Crystal Palace and plays him at right wing, and after the 87th minute, I'm just thinking to myself, this guy is an absolute killer. When you need a goal, he should not be on the bench. And further to that, I don't even think that he should be coming off the bench anyways. He should be, I know it's not his preferred role, he should be our striker. Because we're creating enough opportunities where we could hurt teams. We don't have the ability in Jackson to finish off these opportunities. He just doesn't think the game as a striker. And as much as Christopher Nkunku's better behind the striker, as a shadow striker, or even out wide sometimes, there's no denying that he has the instincts in the box to make the difference. And for that reason, he has to be the guy. He has to be our number 9. Whether that's his strongest position or not, he has to be playing in those positions, because what he does when he gets into those areas is just clinical. I'm not calling out Maresca, but I'm hoping that, going forward, we understand what we have in this nuclear weapon in Christopher Nkunku. He is a difference maker, and he's a guy that needs to be getting a lot more playing time than is being awarded to him right now. But I do think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Chelsea with that classic smash and grab. Chelsea is back, man. That classic Chelsea smash and grab is back. Played poorly for about 60 minutes of that game, maybe even more. And then a late winner provided by a nuclear weapon that we have sitting on the bench for God knows what reason. Christopher Nkunku, just weaves his way through that defense and finds a winner. But let's be real, we were poor for the majority of that match. And a lot of it has to do with what I said earlier. I thought we had too many defenders on the pitch, not enough attackers. And, we had players playing in unfamiliar positions. Obviously, Disasi was a disaster in that right back position. And, Viega wasn't terrible, but just could not get a foothold in the match, And it's mainly because, when teams are pressing him, pressing as aggressively as Bournemouth were, he's just not comfortable in that role. He's not a guy that can, think 2 plays ahead and get the ball moving, and get us on the front foot and get us playing football. So he struggled in that role, getting us out and getting us linking the play with our midfielders and our attackers and whatnot. So we struggled there, and then Cucurella playing in that number 8, number 10 position, had a lot of ground to cover. So it was just a mixed match of players in uncomfortable positions. But I thought we did have some good performances. Obviously, I mentioned Sanchez, who was my honorable mention as far as man of the match. I thought Jaden Sancho just edged it, just because he came on and just made a massive difference in what we were doing in that final third. But you could have easily have given it to Sanchez. Timely saves, just a real calming presence back there, and of course that massive penalty save that surely secured at least a point for us, surely. But I thought that we also had a great performance from Colwell, a commanding presence back there. He and Fofana. Of course, Fofana didn't have the greatest game. Obviously, he gave away the ball a couple times, and of course, the penalty was mainly down to him. But I thought that the two of them are starting to really communicate as a partnership quite well together. And Colwell in particular, I thought was a man mountain back there, blocking shots, getting in the face of the attackers and whatnot, and really being a commanding presence back there. So again, I'm hoping that continues on as we move forward. But we got West Ham next, I believe, and another massive game, London Derby, and we need Chelsea to at least use this as a springboard to build on going into the future. So, but you guys know what to do. Until then, keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chelsea. Peace.